Hello and welcome everybody to our podcast. My name is Don Putkela.
And I'm Angela Putkela.
And this is our podcast, Welcome to Livingston, where we invite local businesses to come in and talk about their business. We are powered by the Putkela Group. We own our own brokerage that we're so happy to be able to serve the community through.
Yep, the Putkela Group Real Estate Professionals. So we are ourselves realtors, hands-on, have clients ourselves, buyers, sellers, investors, all kinds.
Yeah, and you can find us at welcometolivingston.com, just where you can find our podcast at welcometolivingston.com.
One-stop shopping.
Yes. So usually we have a business come on and talk to them, but every once in a while we take a step back to talk about our business as a local small business and to talk a little bit about real estate, and that is what we're going to be doing today.
Well, and to add value and to let people know we have a great wealth of knowledge and experience between the both of us. And that was one thing as we brought the podcast back that we thought, I don't know that it was lacking or that it was something that we could bring forth that really, would be relevant and helpful and informational to people.
Yeah. So every 4 to 5 episodes, we take a step back and we talk a little bit about real estate. So that is what we're doing today. And, when we sat down to talk about what is something that we wanted to impart our wisdom on, I guess is a good way to say it. What we were looking at is we wanted to talk about 10 things we wish home buyers knew.
Yeah.
When they get into the process.
We're talking about home buyers and boy, there's all these things that we just wish that they knew, this information that they had, that it would really make a difference to
right. And,
the home buyers out there.
Right. And it's different for every person and it's different for every client, and a lot of these things we cover as they come up, right?
Right.
But those things that, like, if you were walking in on day one, what are some of the things that we would say, hey, here's a list of things that we think you should know.
Yeah. Yeah. You're going to want to know these things.
Yes. And some of them are a little bit more obvious than others.
Yeah. But definitely worth covering.
Yes. So I will start off with, I guess we'll kind of go back and forth and then just
you
input
get
a
the
little
odd,
bit.
I'll get the even. Okay.
We will see about that. Yeah. So I'm going to start off with one of the things we wanted to kind of talk about is call your agent instead of clicking on Zillow.
Yes. That is the worst. Don't do that.
Yeah, and not for us.
Yeah.
For our clients.
Exactly.
Right. So, they're online, they're looking at homes. Zillow has a great app. They have a website with a ton of homes there.
People check those things out, and that's fine.
I'll start off by saying that Zillow is not always accurate.
Yep.
I would say I have clients 4 or 5 times a year call me up and say, I saw a foreclosure on Zillow. And then I have to explain to them that that's not a real foreclosure.
Or this house is for sale and I want to see it. Well, I'm sorry, it already went under contract a week ago, but Zillow's there to make money and, and it helps them to have more offerings.
Yeah, but one of the biggest things that happens when you click find more information on Zillow is your phone will start ringing, and sometimes it doesn't take longer than 2 to 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's not always, in fact, it's not usually the agent that listed the house. This is the highest bidder that is paid money to get that lead, and they don't know anything more about the house than you know about the house.
Yeah. Well, but sometimes they're experienced realtors, sometimes they're not. Sometimes maybe it's somebody good, but basically your best bet is to go through your own realtor. We'd love for it to be us, but if it's someone that you already know, have vetted, have established, and you know who you're dealing with, you're not just blindly getting sold off, almost like the just phone calls you get randomly on your phone. That's what that is. And we wanted buyers to be aware of that.
100%, be working with someone that's working for you. Absolutely.
And for what it's worth, your realtor can show you any house. So, whatever it is.
They can find out that information for you. They can ask those questions for you. And if you're on Zillow and you see something, reach out to your agent. They're going to be able to give you the most up-to-date and accurate information.
Correct. There's other websites. There's Zillow.com.
Realtor.com.
Realtor.com. Sorry. There's Homes. There's all kinds of those, but your realtor is the ultimate source of.
Right. Or you can just go to welcometolivingston.com and you can search on there as well.
There you go. There you go. All right. The second thing that we wish that buyers knew is to get pre-approved early. There's nothing worse than finding the perfect house and to be ready and say, yes, I want to offer on this, but I haven't even talked to a lender yet.
Right.
And that makes it take longer. It makes it more stressful. It may even make it so if it's a competitive situation, time is of the essence. And so by being prepared, then you're able to hit it right when you need to.
Exactly. Well, let's say you're not thinking of moving for 3 to 6 months and you're like, well, I don't need to get a pre-approval yet. I watched this commercial online and they said, you don't want to get your credit pulled. Well, talking to that lender early not only lets you know where you're at in terms of the ability to buy a house, but they may be able to identify areas that you can improve your credit so you can get approved for a larger amount and buy a better house.
Yes. Get better terms.
Or get better terms. They're going to put a plan in place for you specifically with what you have going on with your life to put you in the most beneficial situation.
Absolutely. And it's the same thing there in terms of connecting with a good lender. We have some that we'd be happy to recommend. There may be some that you've used before or that you know personally.
Right. And being able to establish that line of communication between yourself, the lender, and your agent of choice so that everybody's on the same page. And getting that pre-approval early allows that to happen.
Absolutely. And just on a little sidebar, if anything happens with your finances, if you get a raise, if you ended up getting a large sum of cash or any number of things. If anything changes with your finances, definitely make sure that you're communicating that with your lender, with your agent at any point during the process because it can have an impact.
Yes, 100%. Something else that always has an impact is our next item, which is the pictures online of the home. Pictures can be deceiving. We put this on there because so often we'll have clients that look at the pictures online and they're like, oh my gosh, this house is nothing that I want, and they don't want to go see it. Or the converse is, this house is amazing. Everything is perfect from the pictures.
I want to put an offer on it right now today without ever even seeing it.
Yeah, and then they get out there and it's not what they thought at all. Remember that pictures are only a starting point and they're meant to look the most advantageous. However, I have been to multiple houses where the pictures were horrible and we get there and we're like, oh my God, this is amazing. The pictures do not match what I'm seeing at all.
So take it with a grain of salt. With our listings, we do use a professional photographer who makes everything look fantastic. And
but not everybody does.
Not everybody does. But the interesting part is realize in a lot of cases, it's almost like some of these dating apps, where people, photograph themselves in exactly the right light. So, it looks the best that it possibly can. Know that that's what a lot of these houses are doing. So it might look huge and spacious and you go in and it's teeny, teeny, tiny. That can happen.
Yes.
But that's okay. And it just, as long as you're aware of that.
Yes. My advice is I love to see homes and it's always best to just go out and see it.
Yes.
Pictures are a great starting point, but they're not the ending point.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And even just to experience it and smell it and touch it. And there's no comparison.
Right.
Taxes impact everything, whether it's where you're looking at, because different townships have different tax bases. Here in Livingston County, city of Howell, city of Brighton are going to be a lot higher than the outlying townships. There's other areas down in Whitmore Lake, down in Weberville that have very high taxes that could really impact that. Here you might find a house on the outskirts that is very affordable, but then once you drill down to the monthly payment, it's actually a lot more than a more expensive home.
Exactly. And that makes an impact if you are escrowing your taxes or you're not putting down 20%. So a lot of times people don't understand that tax affects your monthly payment and can also affect how much you're approved up to. So if you are, say you're approved to $300,000 and you're looking at something with high taxes, well, maybe you can only go to $290,000. But if it's the low taxes, you might be able to go up to 310. So, we're looking at the impact of the taxes. And the other thing we make sure all of our clients understand is what's called a pop-up tax. So understand when you get into a home, your taxes are based on the value of the property for the person that's currently in the home. So if they bought a house 10 years ago and they bought it for a lower amount, well, those taxes were only able to come up incrementally each year. While at the same time, the property value was increasing
substantially higher than that.
Right. So, your taxes may 1 year after you get into the house go up 25, 30, 50%. So that's a conversation to have with your agent when you're preparing to put in an offer going, what's the impact here? So we let you know that, and we wish that more buyers would understand that impact before they even started looking.
Absolutely. That before you put an offer in, know that it's a red flag if the people have been there for more than a couple of years. Like if they've been there 30 years or 20,
your
20
taxes
years,
are going up.
Your taxes are going up.
Sometimes substantially.
Right. And just do the math on the front end. Your lender, your agent will be able
and that
to help
doesn't
you with
mean that it's not a good investment and you're not getting a good deal on the house.
Right.
We just don't believe in surprises.
Exactly.
Yep. So our next one is, I think, an interesting one. An open house is not a showing. And what we mean by this is open houses are a great resource, and we have our clients that go out to open houses sometimes, and then they'll call us and be like, oh my gosh, I was going to open houses yesterday and I really like this house and I'd like to go see it. Or, I love this house and I'd like to make an offer on it. An open house is not the same as a showing in that it's not your private time at the house. It's
a whole different experience.
It's a whole different experience. And you don't have your agent there to answer the pertinent questions or to ask the questions that you don't know to ask.
Right. It's so important to have an agent, and they're a great resource. So when you do a personal showing, they're able to be a great resource to you through that. And you don't have to worry about other buyers looking at the same time and any of that.
Exactly. You want your private time to be able to see the home.
Right.
And to be comfortable, to be able to walk through and not worry about those things.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Yep.
So recording devices. So of, some of these 10 things that we wish buyers would know, we've seen in our tenure here just how prevalent recording devices have become.
It has gotten so much more than it used to, because you used to see the nanny cams and now you see the Ring doorbell devices in rooms.
Yeah, inside. And sometimes they're hidden very artfully, so you may not see it. We suggest basically making sure that you have in your head that whether you see it or not, you're probably getting recorded. So it's hugely important to be respectful. Both, what you say, realize that seller may be watching or hearing.
Well, yeah, when we were talking about this, I just watched Ocean's 11 last night.
Oh, yeah.
And I was, it was that line that Julia Roberts says, and remember, in your casino, someone is always watching.
Yeah.
That idea of you might be being recorded, and don't worry about it. You're supposed to be respectful in somebody's house anyway. Yes. Don't say negative things about the house.
Well, yeah, to be insulting, to be like, wow, I wouldn't have ever matched that with that.
Or on the flip
gosh.
side, oh my God, I need this house and I don't care how much I pay for it.
Right. Yeah. That's not something you want them hearing. So if, in terms of to allow us to negotiate the best possible way for you, try not to tip your hand.
Yes, 100%. But just assume. Ring doorbells are on everybody's porch, but they're inside the house as well sometimes.
But people always talk and say whatever it is right in front of the cameras of, it's tough.
Yeah, it is very tough. So our next one is the importance of timing and of timelines.
Yes.
I think this is a very important aspect, because when you're looking at houses and once you get under contract, timelines become really important. So if we write into there that you have a 7-day inspection period, you don't have an 8-day inspection period. You have a 7-day inspection period, but at the same time, the timing of when you make an offer, the timing of all these things impact it, don't they?
What I would say is, in real estate, plan on things taking longer than you expect that they will, whether that's finding the house, whether that's getting the home you want under contract, or even closing it. Maybe something popped up on inspection that you need to wait for it to get
100%.
repaired. It's rare for things to take less time than you think. It's never going to be quicker, but it's always going to take longer than you think.
And, we would, if I was talking about selling, I'd have the same item timing and timelines. But where that pertains to a buyer is when your agent says, hey, the trucks are showing up tomorrow to move out, that doesn't mean they're going to get it done in one day. Yes. Timing on all of that, like you said, takes longer. The 10% left of moving out of a house takes as long as the 90% in front of it.
Yes, it really does, especially if it's somebody that hasn't done it for a while. And we've had occasions where a seller and buyer talk directly and they say, oh, we're getting our moving truck on this date. And so our buyer says, oh, that's great. I'll be able to get the keys that day or the next day. And that's not always the case.
That's because almost always, like if I have a listing agent call me up and say, hey, my seller said that they're getting out today and we're going to have the keys for you at 2:00. I'll call up our clients and say, hey, we're going to be getting the keys sometime this afternoon, because the keys are never ready at 2:00.
Never. Oh my goodness. The worst story is we had one that I think you're supposed to be done at 5 or 6 p.m. for our buyers. And our buyers had that U-Haul and it was ready to go. And we found out that it's going to be a while. So he was waiting the wings and we went over there. I think, was it 9 at night or something?
Are you talking about the one that I was helping?
Yeah.
Yes. As the buyer's agent, I was helping the sellers load furniture at 11 o'clock at night. So
with our buyers on the road with their U-Haul, where we paid for that extra day for them because they'd clicked over to.
Yes, but the thing is, in our job, we are not just agents.
No, we are not.
There are so many things that happen behind the scenes that we help take care of and help facilitate. And in this case, it was all hands on deck for people helping out.
Pulled up our sleeves and, I was handing breakables to a seller that she was sitting in the passenger side. It was really remarkable. It's the only time that's
But everyone
happened.
Was happy. It all worked out.
They were. It was but because, it's easy for people to overestimate that they'll be out more quickly, or that it won't take as long to pack.
Yep. Speaking of estimating or overestimating, that leads us into a nice segue, I think, into our next subject.
Yes. And that's an inspection, what it is and what it is not.
Yes.
And you're more my inspection guy.
Yeah,
but,
I can talk to you a little bit about this. Yeah. As an agent and as a buyer's agent, I go on a lot of inspections. And, inspections are a really important step in the process. But there's things that inspections are and things that they're not. Inspections are not a time to renegotiate the terms of your contract. Oh. Inspections are not a time to say, well, now I want money off for things that you knew about or saw going into it.
Those are visual defects.
Yep. And the thing I would say here is for my buyers, I at least believe I do a really good job during showings and when we're preparing to write an offer to say, okay, as we write the offer, let's keep these things in mind. While we were walking the property, you saw that the sidewalk was cracked walking up to the front porch. So please keep that in mind when you're writing an offer, because we're not going to ask them to repair that because we saw it. But it is impactful on the amount that we're requesting. So don't think that you didn't take it into account, right. But we took it into account before so that we don't have to worry about it later.
Absolutely.
Right? So it's those hidden things are the most important.
Right. That's what the inspection is. It's to find out what you can't see, what you don't know.
Exactly. And that's why you have a professional that comes in. They're going to get up into the attic. They're going to test the water. They're going to make sure the septic field is running right and everything. So they're going to look for those hidden things. They are also going to give you your list of honeydews or right. your maintenance items for the next year. Those aren't things, if an inspector puts on that, hey, you may want to think about extending the downspouts because I can see that there may be an issue in grading. That's not, hey, we're going to request for them to extend the downspouts and add some dirt. That's, hey, your inspector was such a good inspector that not only did they give you the safety items to worry about now, they gave you all the items to become a good homeowner for later.
Right. Right. Absolutely. You're not purchasing a brand new home in most cases. In some cases you are. But generally speaking, these are the things for you to be able to be prepared with.
Right.
And that does help. And you do a very good job in terms of explaining things and understanding things.
Right.
And,
but an inspection is also to make you feel good about the home. Right. So if something comes up in the inspection that you're like, I don't know about this. This is a structural issue. This is something that is more than I was prepared for.
I'm really uncomfortable with this. Then at that point, you're able to have a mutual release and not purchase the house and get your earnest money deposit back. That's that time for you to understand how much work.
Right. But going into the inspection as a buyer, knowing this is what is going to be looked at during the inspection and this is what I'm going to find out, is something that they should be prepped for beforehand. Because sometimes they're like, do I need to come to the inspection?
Yes.
Yes, you do.
You do. And as a public service announcement, you need to have one. I am shocked, and we have never advocated for our clients to not have a professional inspection. We've seen a lot of waiving of inspection, and that is not what I would advise to anybody.
Right. And a professional inspection doesn't mean your friend who was in construction.
Right.
It means, sometimes.
Or Uncle Bob.
Right. But I mean, if you have a brother who's a builder, well, they're going to be really good at understanding the structural issues of the house, but they're not going to be good at understanding the septic issues.
Yes.
Right. So there's a difference there where you're getting that well-rounded thing. And I would also say it's your ability to learn more about the house and be comfortable with the house. When I have people come to an inspection and the husband and wife, and the husband's like, well, I'm going to come because I want to hear all about the house and about the structural. And the wife's like, well, I don't know about that stuff. I don't want to come. I'm like, no, you want to come. This is your chance to sit down in the house and walk through the rooms and think about where your furniture is going to go. And
do
maybe
your measurements.
Do some measurements and, talk about paint colors. And your showing was 15 minutes long.
Half an hour if you're lucky.
Half an hour.
Yeah.
Your inspection is 2 to 3 hours.
Yes.
What a wonderful opportunity to get to know the home.
Yes. It really is a great resource. Sometimes people have kids or other family members, or even a parent for some of the first-time home buyers. That's a great opportunity for them to come in there.
You say that.
I do.
But I would also say, with a grain of salt there, this is your time.
That's true too.
This is not your parents' time.
Yes.
Okay, because they're going to be coming in, they're going to be giving their opinion of the house. And to all the dads out there, while you want to be you're very knowledgeable, right? And you have really good advice, but they're paying for a professional to get their advice.
Yes.
So, we try to separate the two a little bit, even though many times they agree with each other.
Yeah.
My public service announcement to any buyer out there, this is your time to learn about the house. You can bring all your family and friends over later to see the house when it's your home.
That's fair.
Yep.
That's fair. That's why each person is such a different situation. It's each transaction, each home.
You know what?
Everything depends.
We're going to flip the next two based on what you just said. Okay, because it's a perfect transition for you to do the...
Oh my goodness. Okay, so...
Oh, no, you're in the right order. I am so sorry. You did perfect. So yeah, our next one is what a house can be, not necessarily what a house is.
Yes.
And I think this is a unique one because so often it has so many different facets to it.
This is just 10 things that we wish that the home buyers knew, right? So in terms of, you're talking about what a house can be.
Yes. So what I wish they knew is what a house can be, meaning when you're going through the showings, sometimes you can't see the forest through the trees. The furniture that's there now isn't going to be there later. You can change colors. There's things you can change about a house, and there's things you can't change about a house. And don't let yourself get clouded about the things that you can change.
And change easily. People get hung up on, oh my gosh, this bedroom is hot pink. Ugh, this is hideous. Whether you hire a professional to paint it or do it yourself, it's really relatively inexpensive and relatively easy.
Right. Key in on the aspects that you love about the house and then see how you feel about it. But every person is different and every situation is different. But what you're looking at there is that allow the uniqueness of the home to be unique.
Yeah. One of the things that I would say is after years and years of going through with different buyers, a lot of the things that initially say, oh my gosh, we've got to change this, we've got to do that, oh, that is going to go. Years later, we talk to them, go over there, sell the house again. That happens a lot. And we realized, wow, I thought you were going to change that. Like, no, you know what? We found we kind of actually liked it.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing of getting to learn a house. Sometimes something that you think you would want to change, you don't understand why it is the way it is until you get into the home.
Yes. Even for us when we purchased a house last, we were horrified it didn't have a door wall in back. It's, oh my gosh, this is going to be hideous to have to
open and close the door. We wanted a patio door.
Yeah.
We didn't want a door that opened and shut going out to our patio.
But we didn't realize how awesome that is. Because we had a door wall and we loved that. And I think we learned from our son who's out of state now that other states, they don't even call it door wall.
They call it a patio door.
Yeah.
Yes.
But in terms of that, having an actual back door that you can open and close and is really kind of awesome.
Right. Yeah. So some of those things, I would say when you get into a house, let yourself settle in the house a little bit before you start to make changes.
Big changes. Little changes, of course. But like for any of the big changes, give your a chance to get to know the house. Yes. Because you might be surprised.
100%. Our last item then is every home has its own unique set of obstacles. What do you think of that?
It does. Each situation is so different. I think of personally some of the first-time home buyers that aren't super handy. And so sometimes I feel like some of our buyers really overthink things and like, oh my gosh, we need a house that doesn't have obstacles, but each house has its own set of obstacles.
Well, and I would say when I have buyers sometimes and they're deciding not to put an offer on something because of an obstacle that it has or because of something that they're going to have to fix or overcome, not realizing that, is this an obstacle that's easy to overcome where the next house may have an obstacle that's harder to overcome? Is it an obstacle that you can handle? Don't allow the negatives to overpower the positives.
Right.
Right. Because they're so unique. It's you have to take each house in its uniqueness and put it in its own bucket and say, okay, what's going on here may not be the same as what's going on over there for this other one, and look at it within its bucket to say, okay, are these things that I'm happy with? Are these things that I can handle? And then allow us as professionals to help you through that bucket, because sometimes you'll have a perfect house that comes up, but there's one thing about it that's not perfect. Well, now let's look at that one thing and see where does it line up with the rest of it, right? But don't underscore the fact that in the process, we're here as the professionals because we know that no situation is the same and it's going to be different for every single house.
Right. Something as simple as a dirt road, right? Where it may be the location that somebody wants and it's the condition and it's the floor plan and it's everything they wanted, but it's on a dirt road and they just really didn't want a dirt road.
Exactly.
But they've been looking forever. And at some point, it's a matter of, you know what, this house is perfect.
Or we've had cases where this is more of a lender issue as well as a realtor issue. If I have someone that's rural development or their VA or their FHA, and there's a set of criteria that the house has to have, right? So there's 5 things that have to be happening and 4 of them are, and there's one, and the one is the obstacle, right? And every house is unique. Well, is there a way for us to overcome that and still be able to get that to work? Can we ask for it to be repaired, or can you change the type of loan that you have? Understanding that there's the path is always winding, but we can make sure that it reaches the destination.
I have a little bonus comment here. Okay. And I know that didn't hit this, but in terms of buyers, I think years and years and years ago, what a realtor did was they found the house for you, right? That was their job. That was the big deal. Or maybe that's what people think that realtors do. But ultimately, at least in this day and age with the internet, with everything, sometimes some of our buyers find their own house. We've suggested ones, but it frequently becomes a team effort. What we do as a realtor is to get it to the finish line we talk through those obstacles, be able to prepare our buyer for each stage of the game. We make sure that everything goes smoothly, that the correct title insurance has been asked for, so there aren't surprises on the back end. So there is a lot that goes on behind the scenes that a realtor does for you. Even the negotiations that, that we're still seeing multiple offers.
You go back to all these things where we talked about taxes being impactful, right?
Yeah.
Well, what about assessments?
Yes.
That's something that comes up, that how we write a contract matters, right?
Right.
And doing the legwork to find out everything they can about the house. HOA issues, right?
Yes.
You have someone that says, I need to be able to have a fence because I have a dog. Well, first off, I'm going to talk to them about the different issues and ask them if they've thought about an electric fence, because if they want to be in a neighborhood, sometimes there's HOAs that don't allow fences and such. But if we know that that's something that's important to them,
hot button.
right? We have an RV and we need to be able to park it, because if we don't park it, then we have to rent space during the winter and we don't have any place to put it. There's hundreds of things that come up between, like you said, the point that you find the house you want to offer on and you get the keys, right? Yes. So it's true. Do we help people find houses? 100%. A lot of times we're out there suggesting homes. We're sending homes over there. We're finding things that are just coming to market to make sure that they can get into it. But we do have people that, we've been working with and then say, oh my gosh, I saw the perfect house last night.
It has none of the criteria that I gave you. It's in a different city. It's a different style. We've had that before too, but that's okay, because the trick is, as professionals, we are here to help you through that transaction, because it's going to take you longer than you think. And 30 days is usually kind of the norm. And a lot happens and pops up that you want somebody there to advocate.
There's more going on in those 30 days than you think there are.
Yes, there really is.
The fact that your agent isn't telling you everything that's happening on the back end, don't think that they're not doing a million things behind the scenes.
they really are.
Okay, there's a lot of things that go into it. And one of the other, since you were talking about bonuses, one of the bonuses I would say is, as a buyer, there is no such thing as a stupid question.
Absolutely.
Ask us
ask
hundreds of questions.
Love them.
We love answering them, because if you're thinking it, someone else has asked the same question before.
We have answers.
We want you to ask the question, because then we can make sure that you have all the answers humanly possible. And if we don't know the answer, we'll find out.
Your agent is there to advocate for you, and they are looking out for you and making sure everything goes smoothly, because this is complicated.
It is.
It is not Facebook Marketplace. It's not just purchasing a car. There's a lot. There's even cars get complicated for sure, but a home, there's a lot that goes into it. It's
one of the biggest purchases you'll ever make, and make sure that you have a professional working for you that is advocating for you and knows what questions to ask, because sometimes a person doesn't even know where to start, right?
Right.
And you have to be able to know what questions to ask so that you get the right answers.
And you're not supposed to know yourself.
Your agent should know.
Yes, exactly. Even people that have purchased houses before, guess what? This is a different market than the last time they purchased, maybe.
Or we have some people that said, oh, I did this. Well, they did it in 1985.
Right. This is
right.
true.
It's completely different.
When it came to all of the competitive situations, because we had one a month or two ago that they won against 7 other offers, so 1 out of 8, and we were able to negotiate on their behalf to actually get that. So on some level, if you have someone that doesn't have the experience in that negotiation, it may determine whether you're able to get into the house that you want or not. It may make things more challenging.
Exactly. And to go back on some of the things, we talked about timelines and everything, just piggybacking on that. If your lender asks you for information, please get that information over as soon as possible.
Quickly.
Every time that there's a delay in getting stuff, that's a delay in the timeline.
Yes.
Right?
Makes everything take longer.
Everything takes longer, because a lot of times you're literally on A has to happen, then B has to happen, then C has to happen, then D has to happen. And if you're waiting on B, you can't get to C. Right. And that's our job as agents, to know what the order of everything is and make sure all those things line up so that you can get to the finish line in a timely manner.
Absolutely.
Yep. But I know we've gone on quite a bit here. These were just, 10 items that we came up with that we just thought buyers should be aware of. In the end, remember, it's all about communication, and it's about having a good agent that's advocating for you and making sure that there's an open line of communication between all of the people involved. Because the more open you are between the clients, your lender, your agent, all of that, it runs very smoothly, and you want to get to the finish line knowing that the people that you've hired are there for you every step of the way and beyond.
Absolutely. It becomes a collaborative thing. And we have other agents that we know, like, and respect, that they have great relationships with their clients, and they're doing a great job with them as well, too.
There's so many good agents out there.
That's why it's so important to, like your realtor, whoever you pick, just make sure that it's someone you can collaborate with, that you can feel comfortable with, because it can be a stressful process, and you want somebody on your side.
Someone that you trust.
Yes.
100% from beginning to end. Anything you wanted to add at the end?
Nothing I can think of. I think this is a good series. I think we brought up that we might try doing 10 things that we wish home sellers might want to know, as well as just homeowners.
Yes.
Because as we became homeowners, there were so many things that I didn't even know we needed to do.
Exactly.
All those years ago.
Yeah. So thank you guys so much for listening today. Please check us out wherever you find your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. You can find us on YouTube if you want to watch us in here, which is amazing. So please go to welcometolivingston.com, go to our Facebook page and like our Facebook page. And if you have any real estate needs at all, please reach out to us. We would love to be your realtor of choice and to help you out in any way that we can. So thank you so much for listening today. And welcome to Livingston.